Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, May 13th. I'm Stephanie Haney. Welcome back to 3 News Now. This is your early update with the top headlines from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. This week is just flying by. It's already Wednesday. We are racing towards Friday when lots of places here in Ohio will begin to reopen under Governor Mike DeWine's phased-in plan to slowly reopen the Ohio economy. We'll talk about that a little bit more in just a minute. First of all, we'll go ahead and give you the numbers from the Ohio Department of Health as of yesterday at 2 p.m. related to COVID-19 coronavirus here in the state of Ohio, so you can get an idea of where we stand at this moment in time as we approach the first more significant steps in terms of reopening the state of Ohio. As of right now, there are a total of 25,250 reported cases of COVID-19 coronavirus in the state of Ohio. That is based on the expanded CDC definition that includes positive cases that have actually been tested, as well as probable cases that have not necessarily been tested but are likely to be cases of COVID-19. In terms of the number of deaths, there are now 1,436 total deaths related to COVID-19 here in the state of Ohio. So we'll break that down for you right now, how that has changed over the past couple of days. Yesterday at 2 p.m., we saw 473 newly reported COVID-19 cases. That's down from Monday. On Monday, we saw 696 newly reported cases. That was a spike after several days of a decline. So Monday was a spike up, and now we are back on the downturn, and we'll compare that again when we get those new numbers in at 2 p.m. to see how that's looking now. In terms of the number of deaths that were reported yesterday, we saw a significant increase yesterday from previous days. Yesterday, we saw 79 new deaths. That is the third largest 24-hour increase that we have seen since COVID-19 was first reported here in Ohio on March 9th. That's up from Monday when we just saw 16 new deaths. So yesterday we saw 79 new deaths reported. Again, we'll be comparing that to what we see at 2 p.m. when we get those new numbers from the Ohio Department of Health. And in terms of the number of hospitalizations, now there have been a total of 4,539 people hospitalized since we first learned of COVID-19 here in Ohio since March 9th. Yesterday, 126 new hospitalizations were reported. That's double what we saw on Monday. Monday, we saw 62 new hospitalizations reported, and up a little bit from Sunday when we saw 51 new reported. So that is also swinging up with the new hospitalizations. Now, in terms of the number of people who have been admitted to the intensive care unit since we first saw COVID-19 reported here in Ohio, there have been 1,232 ICU cases here in Ohio. Yesterday, 15 new ICU cases were reported, up just slightly from Monday when we saw 12 new ICU cases reported, but up significantly from Sunday when there were only 5 new ICU cases reported. Now, as we look to things that will be reopening, there is some controversy over what has not been allowed to reopen yet. 35 gyms and fitness facilities have sued Dr. Amy Acton, the director of our Ohio Department of Health, over that continued closure. Now, yesterday, Governor Mike DeWine announced that tattoo and piercing parlors, as well as massage businesses, can reopen on Friday, along with outdoor dining. Yesterday, we saw that retail stores could begin opening. So there have been some businesses that have been allowed to reopen. Gyms have not been one of them. So the lawsuit asks that these facilities be allowed to immediately reopen, of course, with safety measures in place. So the businesses who are suing Dr. Acton, who is named in the lawsuit over reopening, they're being represented by the 1851 Center for Constitutional Law. This is a Columbus-based nonprofit organization that, according to its website, is dedicated to protecting the constitutional rights of Ohioans from government abuse. The lawsuit is 85 pages long. It talks about Dr. Acton referring to her, quote, unfettered discretion over COVID-19 and the Stay Safe Ohio order. It also asks residents to stay home in the Stay Safe Ohio order, and has only just recently given non-essential businesses the green light to begin operations again. So the lawsuit takes issue with all of that, and also takes issue with the fact that the current order provides businesses a pathway to reopen, but doesn't mention gyms. 19 Northeast Ohio facilities were included as plaintiffs. This is a statewide lawsuit, so 19 of those facilities here in Northeast Ohio. Governor DeWine briefly addressed lawsuits in general yesterday, saying that they do happen often and his legal team would address it, and they are working to put together the best possible plans that they can in order to reopen the state safely. DeWine has also defended Dr. Acton, saying that people who are attacking her are placing their anger in the wrong place, that the buck stops with him, and he is the one who is responsible for the policy choices that are being made, regardless of the fact that it is Dr. Acton's signature on these orders, because the orders are coming from the Ohio Department of Health. Now, for people who are struggling financially, this might be some helpful information. There is potentially another $1,200 stimulus check coming to a lot of people. This new bill that's proposing a new measure is called the HEROES Act, and Democrats are working to push it through for a vote as early potentially as Friday. So this bill would include more direct payments to Americans and continued boosting to the economy, as well as insurance laid out by the previous rescue package for people who are seeking unemployment benefits. This is a $3 trillion package. So to compare that, the U.S. CARES Act, which was responsible for the first round of stimulus checks, which, by the way, some people have not yet received if you didn't get direct deposit or if there was any kind of issue with that, if you're waiting for a mail-in check and those kinds of things. The U.S. CARES Act was $2.2 trillion. And, by the way, if you haven't yet signed up for direct deposit, this is a reminder that you have until noon today, so you might want to go ahead and do that right now. Go to the IRS website and go to that Get My Payment tool. Sign up for your direct deposit as soon as we're done here, because you have until noon to do it. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting several weeks for a paper check, if you have one coming your way that you haven't seen yet. So back to the HEROES Act. This bill has nearly $1 trillion set aside for cities, states, and tribal governments in order to help avoid layoffs, as we've seen these local government budgets being slashed because of loss of revenue related to the shutdowns of COVID-19. Also in this bill, $375 billion allocated to smaller suburban and rural municipalities who were left out of earlier bills for the most part. And $200 billion in hazard pay for essential workers on the front lines. We've heard a lot of talk about this, people getting a bump, people getting a significant check for continuing to work on the front lines. These essential workers, people in the medical field, first responders, grocery store employees, those kinds of things. So that would be baked into this bill as well. And an element of federal student loan forgiveness. This is something that's been kicked around a lot, but according to this bill right now, there is a provision that would allow for canceling of $10,000 of student loan debt. Now, this is a significant decrease from other numbers that were previously kicked around, other proposals that aren't getting the kind of serious discussion that the HEROES Act is getting right now, included up to $30,000 in canceling of student loan debt. But right now, as it stands, this bill would include up to $10,000 canceling of student loan debt. And also, the HEROES bill includes a $175 billion housing assistance fund to help pay mortgages and rent, and $75 billion in additional funding set aside for virus testing. We have more details on that on WKYC.com and the WKYC app if you want to read about that in more depth. Here's something that might surprise you. Drive-in theaters are beginning to reopen as physically distant movie theater alternatives. And here's a fun trivia fact for you. Ohio ranks third in the country for the number of drive-in theaters. So just yesterday, several theaters in Northeast Ohio began showing films to families in their cars, and people are really happy for the opportunity to get outside, sort of, while staying in their cars. So one driver at the Autorama Drive-In, that's in North Ridgefield, said that they haven't left the house since March 27th, so it was a very welcome change of pace for that person. Christy Enox, who is a mom of 3, told 3 News that they're just looking for a night of normal, and they haven't been out of the house since February. So the co-owner of that particular drive-in, Del Sherman, says that they've been doing distant movie viewing since 1965. And that's the truth. If you're in your car, you're pretty isolated. So nobody would have probably predicted that it would take a pandemic to maybe bring back the popularity of the drive-in, but here we are. These are interesting times. And there's something very charming about the drive-in. It's been a long time since I've been to one, but I always remember having good memories there with the family. So hopefully people can enjoy that and stay safe. Bring your own snacks. Avoid any of those situations that might continue the spread of COVID-19. Now we want to give you an update on our mask making project here at WKYC. The Sisters of Notre Dame have been hand making and donating face masks to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. Here at 3 News, we're in the middle of a major project to benefit the Cleveland Food Bank, and this is led by our very own Betsy Kling. The goal is to collect 10,000 face masks. Those masks have been pouring in from all over the community, and that includes from the Sisters of Notre Dame in Chardon. Sister Judith Ostrowski said whenever there's a need, they try their best to fill it. And since March, the sisters have been in quarantine, and since then they have been cutting, sewing, and donating these handmade masks. So over the past few weeks, they have made and donated 1,567 masks, and 100 of those masks have gone to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank in an effort to help get us to that 10,000 number that we're trying to reach in order to get them what they need to do in order to keep everybody safe as they continue to provide food for people who are in need here in Northeast Ohio. Ostrowski said, besides praying for them, this is a solid way that they can help and a great opportunity to help people. If you are able to sew and you are interested in participating in the initiative here to get those 10,000 masks to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank, please visit WKYC.com and our WKYC app. And Betsy Kling has personally promised if you gather 250 masks, she will personally pick them up. Of course, from a safe physical distance. One more thing, as we do look towards Friday when outdoor dining will reopen, we do have a guide up on WKYC.com if that's something that you're interested in. We've got a list of many places that will have outdoor dining available and the precautions that will be required to be in place, according to this, keeping people the 6 feet apart and those types of things. A few of the places that we know will be open are Lago East Bank in the Flats, Town Hall in Ohio City, Tremont Tap House, many Winking Lizard locations. You can see a full list of the places that we're aware of on WKYC.com in our outdoor dining guide. And if you're not ready, as we did a poll yesterday at WKYC.com/vote now, and we asked people if they would be participating in outdoor dining this weekend. Do remember that you can still support your local businesses with takeout and delivery. We have an entire portal of places that are open in your community. That's at WKYC.com/lovelocal. You can find out what's open in your area if you would like to support a business in that way. This is your early update with 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. Next up is 3 News Connect. That's with Jay Crawford and our senior health correspondent, Monica Robbins, where they'll be answering all your questions about COVID-19 coronavirus. And I'll be back here at 2 p.m. with your latest update as soon as we get those numbers from the Ohio Department of Health, along with what else is topping WKYC.com and our WKYC app. I will see you back here in just a little bit.